Hello, everyone. My name is Sonny Bishop, and my presentation is on cultural competence. Okay. First, I want to start off on what is cultural competency. According to the article, it means to deliver quality care to patients who have various beliefs, values, attitudes, and behaviors. This sometimes requires for healthcare professionals to change the care given to the patient so that it respects their cultural values and beliefs. Cultural competency is recognized in healthcare so that the needs of every patient, regardless of background, are met. Okay, the summary of the article. The main view of the article is cultural competency in healthcare. And the main key of cultural competence is effective communication, especially between the providers and the patients. Um, this eliminates mistakes and misunderstandings. And another aspect of cultural competence is cultural humility. And in the article, it defines it as to recognize your own limited knowledge of others' cultures. So if even if someone does have cultural awareness, they might still have an unconscious bias. The goals of cultural competence in healthcare is to remove the barriers of people getting the care they need. And the end goal is to provide care that is effective, understandable, and respectful to all. You can improve cultural competency by promoting awareness, education, and training. There are barriers that can inhibit the improvement of cultural competency, and I will list them further on in the slides. Next is the critique of the concepts. So the pros in this article, we'll start with the pros in this article, and the first one is that it eliminates language barriers. So cultural competency focuses mainly on communication with other patients of different cultures. So cultural competency helps the patient understand the care they receive. Plus, even if you hire interpreters, this also helps eliminate the language barrier, especially with patients that don't have English as their first language. The next pro is to improve patient outcomes. This is because cultural competency helps the patient understand the medical information that is given to them. This prevents mistakes and ensures a good health outcome for the patient. The third pro is that it improves the patient experiences. So cultural competency helps the patient feel respected, and because they feel respected, they would feel more comfortable about the care they receive. Cultural competency also helps healthcare professionals recognize what they need to adjust so that it meets the patient's needs and preferences. So this leads to an overall good experience. Now, in the article, it does list a couple cons, and the first one is limited resources. So some organizations may have limited resources of, diversity training programs, or maybe they don't have an access to an interpreter. Some organizations may not even have the budget or time to give all the employees involved in a diversity training program. The next con is the organization's knowledge of cultures. So in the article, it says that maybe some organizations they may not completely access their knowledge on cultures. And some organizations may think that initiating one diversity training program once is okay, but learning how to improve someone's cultural competency is actually an ongoing process. You can't just do it once and you just think that it's okay. So how can these methods be used? They could explore their cultural humility by taking a cultural competence training program, or they can learn about different cultures, religions in college, which can help future healthcare professionals with their cultural competence. The Jehovah Witness example, it was also listed in the article. Um, for instance, if a patient is due for a blood transfusion and the provider or the doctor comes in to assess the patient and they try to get to know the patient more, they find out that they identify as a Jehovah Witness. And if they learn about this in college, they would know that someone who identifies as a Jehovah Witness, um, they know that transfusions go against their beliefs and values. So they will know that this patient would not be okay with a blood transfusion. And so then the doctor will respect their decision to not go through with the blood transfusion. Another method is that to recruit diverse team members so that when they encounter other patients who share their culture or their language, the patient would feel more comfortable. Um, Another method that has been mentioned before is to bring an interpreter to any interactions with patients to help the patients fully understand any information that's given to them. And so the provider can also get all the accurate info they receive from the patient. So, and because of this helps the provider understand the patient's preferences and needs. How does this relate to the text? So in the text in chapter 18, it touches on cultural diversity in the workplace. One of the things in the text, it lists diversity management of the team. So in the text, um, diversity management is what it means, and I quote, it refers to the ways in which managers hire, supervise, use the skills of, and promote or otherwise assign or reassign employees of varied backgrounds. And that basically relates to the methods I previously mentioned that in the article, it was to recruit diverse team members. So depending on the local community, which could be culturally diverse, the organization's employees should also reflect that and be diverse as well. The next one is cultural competence training. Now in the text, it mentions diverse awareness training, but in the article it says cultural competence training. In the text, it does say that the training is only for a one-time session and they should learn about biases, respect, and communication, and it should be required for a follow-up session. This relates to the article because, cultural competence covers everything in diversity training. The only difference is that in the article, it suggests that it should not be done just once. It's an ongoing commitment. Okay. My questions, first question is just, what are your overall opinions of the whole article? What is something new that you have learned while reading this article? What do you think that cultural competence is? Why do you think that cultural competence is important in the health field? And what could you do to improve your own cultural competence? And the last question is, are there any questions that you have? So the summary of everything is that cultural competency is effective communication between people of various backgrounds. Even though there might be some barriers, cultural competency is improved in numerous ways, like training or evaluating your cultural humility. Um, Healthcare professionals improve their cultural competency so that they can give effective care in the most respectful way. Thank you for watching.